Hi, good afternoon, Julianne. Great to see you. Thank you for giving up your time this afternoon.
Lovely to be here, thank you.
If you could, I'd like you now to introduce yourself and tell us where you teach and where you came to Harrow from.
Okay. Well, I teach in K1, which is the nursery equivalent in England, in early years at Harrow. And I come from Essex and Colchester, where I taught for about 7 years.
And how are you enjoying Harrow so far?
I'm loving it, so much so that I'm a returner.
You are a returner?
Yes.
Now you came here before. When was your first visit to Harrow?
Well, we came in 2003 when the school first located out to Don Wang, and we did a 2-year contract, and I had my only son here, and then we went home. But when it was time for him to start school, I applied and got a job back here, which is great, back in early years.
And at that time, the first time that you came out here, it obviously made a strong impression on you. Do you remember those first impressions when you arrived at Harrow?
Yes, I mean, it's a huge school. Living on site was all a different way of life. And of course, the culture is completely different. But we had lots of support. People living on site helping us. The houses are all set up for us to come straight to, which was a real comfort, not have to worry about that. But it took about a year, I reckon, to really settle in. But we loved it all the time, getting to go to new places, different places. But it did take some settling. We did take some time to settle in.
Living on site then, what is that like? This is a video for prospective teachers to Harrow. Can you give us a flavour of what life is like living on site, the townhouses themselves, and what the experience is like for a family or a couple wanting to start a family?
Well, for a family it's absolutely ideal because you're in a really safe environment. The houses are all set up. They're great houses, they're practical houses. You're all quite close together and there's a real community feel. You know, back home the days are gone where you could let the kids run free, but actually here we've still got that, which is a real Brucey bonus.
There's space then, is there?
Oh, there's heaps of space. We don't have our own gardens, but we have a huge communal green area all around, and there are lots of children on site now, which is great. And it's lovely because there's always someone out there. We're always out and around. No, it's a great place to be.
And you're one of those members of staff whose family has lived both now off-site in a new area and having lived previously on-site. What prompted you to make the move? How do you find your life off-site? Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
We just felt a bit braver, to be honest. It was lovely coming when we first came, knowing that we didn't have to worry about where we were going to be, where we were going to live, bills, how we got things fixed, all that kind of sort of stuff was sorted for us living here on site. And just over the years, I think we've lived on site totally for 5 years now, 2 years the first time round and 3 years this time. And it was just a nice, buffer. It was just wonderful to come and have that. And as we've got braver, not terribly brave, I must admit, because we've only moved 50 yards down the street outside the gate, but we have a little bit more of a taste of Thailand. But living on site was ideal initially, really ideal, and it just made everything so much easier.
Was it then easy to find a place off-site, off-campus? You mentioned you live just in front of the school.
Yes.
Are there other teachers there and further afield? Are there teachers who live
there are
beyond?
heaps of us. I think it's up to you what you want to do. You could live in town. There's some young couples that still live in town and travel in. There are heaps of us teachers with families that live in the street just outside, and a couple of streets further back. And they're lovely houses too. They're great houses. A little bit roomier than the ones we have on site. And it just gives you that sense of a little bit more independence, but you're safe as well because he's a known person who we all rent from him. It's great.
And so, returning to the teaching side here, you're a teacher in the Early Years Centre. How does it compare then to teaching in the UK? What would be your experiences of the two systems in terms of the positives and the benefits of that?
Well, it's very comparable. We're doing the same curriculum, obviously. I think we're probably slightly further along, having spoken to my friends back home in England, especially with the new early years curriculum foundation stage. We are doing really well. We're up on all the new initiatives. I think what is nice is we've got smaller classes, much smaller classes, We also have TAs in the room and an English support teacher in the room for most of the time. So we have a lot more support and a lower number of children in the class.
Very interesting that you mentioned that, because I imagine that many of the students that you teach are from Southeast Asia, and I imagine that might have an impact upon your teaching style and the content that you deliver. Does it? What about the students that you teach, and what about their learning styles?
Well, to be perfectly honest, because we're early years, we use a lot of visual skills. We're very didactic. We have that room to move and to deliver a really interesting, active curriculum. So as far as teaching children that have English as a second language, it really helps. And we're not formal as it is further up in the school, especially in secondary. We have that opportunity to do a lot more hands-on stuff. We can play with the kids, we can get down with the kids and model lots of talk and play. So it's good practice, good practice.
So thinking here now in this lovely classroom of yours, what it would be like with the students in here, the children enjoying themselves. Could you give us an indication of what a typical day would be like for you at Harrow?
We're very busy. We're a very busy school, and the children are delightful. The children seem to manage and cope really well. We start at nice and promptly, 8 o'clock in the morning. It's a long day for the little people, but they seem to handle it well, and they manage really well. We have so many activities. We have the added advantage of we have specialist teachers. We have a music teacher that comes in and a PE teacher, and the children have the opportunity to swim, which of course they wouldn't do back home. And the children absolutely love it. It gives them that change to their routine that they wouldn't normally have. So whilst it sounds like it's a long day, actually they're doing so many different things. They're always on their toes, they're always active, always busy.
And is there an element then that the environment that you're in, the kind of cultural and the geographical environment that you're in starts to feed into the curriculum, and at different times of the term you'd enjoy different activities, for example?
Oh, very much so, very much so. We've had a lovely half term this term because we've been celebrating Diwali, Thanksgiving, Loy Krathong, which is a massive festival here in Thailand, which is really wonderful, and we were just about to start Christmas.
Sounds like fun, not work.
It is, it's party.
Moving on to how salaries and benefits packages then compare to other schools in this line of teaching and education. How do you find the package that you've received here? Are there any limitations? Do you find that actually you have enough to get by? Do you have a sense of the ability to save, etc.? How do you find the comparison there in terms of salaries and benefits?
Well, it doesn't compare. We're a lot better off over here, to be perfectly honest. We are able to save where we wouldn't be able to save back home, and we live the same kind of style of life. We're not being extra tight with ourselves over here. In fact, back home we'd have a weekend once a year in Delft, whereas here we go to places like Phuket or Krabi for a week.
Lovely.
And so we can save and still indulge ourselves as well, which is great. And we get home, every couple of years we got that flight back home, which is wonderful. But we still managed to get home come Christmas, and we've even popped home on Easter as well. We felt the need to. But it's grand. The lifestyle is great. I think it depends on you personally, how you are with your own money, obviously. But I think it's wonderful. We can really save.
An affordable country then to live in?
Oh, very much so.
Day-to-day groceries and baskets of goods are accessible?
We've got a supermarket just down the road here, and it is very, very comparable. There are places that are much, much cheaper, and of course there are places that are much more expensive, but it certainly is cheaper in lots of aspects than back home.
Just to go to your the process that you went into in order to apply to Harrow Bangkok, can you talk us a little bit through that? How did you first discover that there was a position available, and what was the application process like?
I have to confess it was quite easy. I saw the advert in the test, that bit was easy, and I applied and heard back and went to Harrow on the Hill to be interviewed, which was wonderful because it was a cold winter's day and going up into those halls was fabulous, had a really nice feel to it. And I had to wait, I think, a couple of days like most interviews. I did my letter of application, sorry I've missed out a big bit there. It went really swimmingly, it went really well, and they let me know straight away. And from then on we were contacted by 2 people from the school who induction people. They contacted us and told us about how we had to pack and things they recommended that we bring over when we first came, not to bother with lots of things that we could get here. And actually over the years, in the last 10 years, there's pretty much everything that you want, you can get here now. You don't have to worry about thinking, oh, I must bring it with me. Or.
And that induction day is designed then, is it to help facilitate the smoothness of that transition?
Yeah, well you have an induction week when you first come.
Right.
And it's a week, and there's lots of fun activities as well as walking around the school and finding your classroom and procedures and things like that. But you go out into town and find good restaurants to eat and go to visit really touristy but lovely places. So it's a great week actually. It's nice to come together. If you come with a bunch of people, you seem to gel with those people. It's a really nice way of getting to know everyone.
And so you start and the year progresses through. Does the school have a lot of opportunities for you to take advantage of in terms of professional development and courses that will lead your own teaching style and areas that you might want to explore beyond what you arrive in Thailand with?
Very much so, yeah. I mean, we were lucky. We get offered PDR several times throughout the year. I've not actually yet been turned down anything that I've applied to go on, so I'm really pleased about that. And it's been really useful stuff. They have speakers that come out from England and all over the world actually to come and they're attended by other people from different countries. I went on one recently and met a friend of mine who teaches at a school in Singapore, and we met in Clacton where we both taught, and it was just so funny eventually meeting up in Bangkok at an inset. So I mean, it's really great, and they're good speakers and they're really worthwhile.
Lovely, lovely. Quite a small world then as an international teacher.
World. Yeah, absolutely.
So just finally, having been at Harrow now for a number of years, you sound like you would recommend it to other teachers considering a career here. Could you narrow down sort of precisely then, what is it for you that makes Harrow the school to join?
I think it's the people that are here and the children. The children are absolutely lovely. Harrow is a special place and it seems to attract special people. We say that year on year. When people leave, we think, oh golly, I wonder who's going to come. But actually every year we've not been disappointed. It's a lovely place to work, lovely people, lovely kids, and a great school.
Lovely. Julianne, thank you so much for your time this afternoon.
My pleasure.
It's been very interesting talking to you.
My pleasure.
Thanks again.
Thank you.